What's up, everybody? Dan Sports News here, bringing you the 17th episode of the Dansportsnews and Friends podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Dansportsnews, Instagram at I am Dansportsnews, and Facebook at Dansportsnews to catch all my latest articles and news in sports. Today's guest is two-time Super Bowl champion Jeff Reed, who was the former kicker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Check it out. What was the first sport that you started playing? When did you first start playing sports?
Well, let's see. I was 5 years old. I was in Oklahoma. I was born in Missouri and lived in Kent, Oklahoma. And so I lived in Moore, Oklahoma at that time, which is right outside of where the Oklahoma Sooners play in Norman. And started soccer and played that for 15 years, or 14 to be exact.
When did you transition to football?
My senior year in high school, believe it or not. I was asked for, when we moved to Charlotte when I was 10 years old, so I've been here 30 years now. I was asked to kick starting about in the 5th and 6th grade in junior high, it's now called middle school. And I, it wasn't like I was afraid of it. I just didn't want to do it. I was a football fan. I loved watching it. I had friends that were starting quarterback, good receivers, good players. And, I was a physical guy, but, I was a soccer player, and I loved soccer, and that's what I was all about. And I finally, sucked it up and saw if I had an undiscovered God-given talent. After my junior year, my dad and I went to the field often, followed some high school footballs, and, the rest is history. I'm glad I tried it. I mean, it's a quarter of my life has been in the NFL, and then, I played it all through high school, all through college, or 1 year in high school, all through college. So my first year ever being in a game on the team was my senior year in high school.
Right. Now, did you have any Division I offers for soccer, or was it just football?
Yeah, for soccer I had Appalachian State. I don't know if you've heard of it up there, but it's a fairly decent school in the mountains of North Carolina. Wingate is a smaller university in North Carolina. That was pretty much it in soccer. Had a couple offers. Got offered to walk on at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, where I ended up going to school. But as football offers, I didn't have a lot either. I had Appalachian State was going to give me half soccer, half football. And I had Alabama invited me to walk on, but as a walk on, I wasn't like a huge Crimson Tide fan, even though obviously you see how good they are at football, so it would have been fun. But I actually was a journalist and was really interested in journalism, and, that's why I still do stuff like this. I have my own radio show, TV show. I'm a good writer. I got that skill when I was young, and actually carried over to the reason I went to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, is because that's what I really, I wanted to go there for the school. And if something worked out with sports, great. If it didn't, oh well. And so that's why I went to Chapel Hill.
Right, yeah, that's perfect, because I'm pursuing a career, obviously, in sports journalism, doing the sports writing, the interviews with the podcast, so yeah, that's perfect. But at UNC, how is the football team there? What were your thoughts on what happened with you at UNC?
You mean recently or when I was there?
Oh, when you played.
When I played, when I first got there, we were number 4 in the country, number 1 defense. Biggest name you'll know. Well, there's a bunch of them, but the biggest name you'll know I played with was Julius Peppers, who obviously just played 17 years as a defensive end. And I also had Greg Ellis, Ebenezer Echebon, Ronald Curry. We had Ronald's a quarterback, but our defense, 10 of the 11 starters got drafted. When those guys left, Mac Brown left that year and went to Texas. We kind of were in rebuilding, I guess you want to call it, because we lost some recruits when he left for Texas, and ended up. But I had 3 coaches, 2 more coaches after Mac Brown in the next 4 years. So we were okay. We were not great. North Carolina will always be deemed a basketball school because of people like Michael Jordan. But we weren't bad. We had huge upsets. We lost games we should have never lost. But in general, the school is unbelievable. So I know a lot of athletes don't look at it that way, but me personally, I know that it's great to have a career in football or baseball or soccer or whatever that's enough to play. But if you don't have an education, man, and a lot of people go the other way today. They just get a job, which is fine because they have bills, and I get it. But it's almost kind of like the education part is why you go to school. So that's why I ended up going there. The atmosphere was great. And we played in Keenan Stadium, which is still, it totally looks different now because they've added a lot to it since when I played. My last year there was 2001. And it's a great atmosphere, good fans. We don't really compete with the Alabamas and the Georgias and, teams like that. But as you saw this year, we beat South Carolina and we beat Miami.
Right.
The program's back, Matt Brown's back. So, but when I was there, it was fun, man. It was a great time. I have a bunch of great friends that I still talk to. That some played in the NFL, some didn't. But it's a good group of guys, man.
Right. Now, you talk about it being a big basketball school, as we all know, with Coach Roy Williams and Michael Jordan. There were actually, that I know of, two guys on your team, Ronald Curry and Julius Peppers, who you mentioned. Both played basketball and football at the same time.
Right.
Did the football team and the football players, do they associate with the basketball team a lot? Do you guys see them around campus? What is it like with that?
Yeah, obviously we have different schedules. A lot of us lived in a different side of campus for the basketball players because they all stay together. There's not, basketball teams don't have 130 players. We did. So. But yes, all the athletes in North Carolina. Our women's soccer team always the national champions. Our men's soccer team won when I was there. Lacrosse, field hockey were great. Baseball still good. All the sports there are very competitive and very good. And we all kind of stuck together. It was like our own little fraternity. I wasn't in a fraternity, but you see what I'm saying? It's the athletes kind of stuck together because we have similar schedules. You work out super early. You have to manage time very well, or you will not do well in school. But yeah, so not just football and basketball, but even the Olympic sports too. Man, everybody was kind of on the same page. It was fun. Right.
Do you think Julius Peppers or Ronald Curry had the potential to play in the NBA?
Well, it was tough for Ronald because he was a point guard and he had to put on weight for football because he was getting hit. And if you stay little and scrawny coming out of high school, even though he wasn't, but he was smaller, and don't put on the weight, you could get hurt on the football field. So it'd be hard to stay with him. I think he came out as one of the best athlete ever in the state of Virginia. So I'm sure he could have chose either route and done great, and probably. Julius for sure because of his size, but Julius was so good on the football field. It's just kind of like, that was his niche. I think he played basketball because he loved it, but he also, it wasn't like he was a star player on the basketball team. He wasn't our best player, but he did do well, and so I think either one of them probably could have, but it's just two different total body shapes to be in. Football, you're taking hits, all that very, very aggressive. Obviously, this. Basketball, you got to be super quick. You got to be able to jump through the roof. You got to be able to handle the ball and shoot. So, you're looking at two sports that's really tough to do. So that's like when they offered me, partial soccer scholarship, not North Carolina, but other schools, and then play soccer too. That's the same season. So I don't know how that would have worked anyway. And on top of that, you got to be sprinting and fast on the soccer field. The kicker. I'm a bigger kicker, but I was still fast, but I wasn't in soccer shape that I used to be in. So it's hard to really say if that could have happened. I think with the talent level, certainly it could have happened. But they both had great NFL careers, so it worked out great for them.
Right. Now, after your senior season with UNC football, you go undrafted, and then you have a workout with the Saints, but it doesn't really work out. And then the Steelers sign you. What was it like that moment you first got that NFL contract from the Steelers?
Well, the Saints gave me my first shot. Played all preseason. I kind of knew my role. They had a veteran kicker, and I was there as an extra leg and did well. So I was on the wire. Meaning, if you're on the wire, that means that teams see. They talk about you. Teams see that you're doing well. You're out there. You're available for all these tryouts. Someone gets hurt. Someone screws up. Blah blah blah. So that being said, Pittsburgh was my shoot. And probably my 7th tryout in 10 weeks after the Saints released me.
Wow.
And, I kicked great at every tryout for all these different teams except for the Giants. I did not kick very well. I didn't deserve the job. The other ones I thought I deserved the job, but, Pittsburgh signed me. And you're starting to get frustrating, but you're still relevant. If teams are calling you, that's what you want. I mean, I was lucky enough to get an opportunity. I wasn't even going to try football in high school. Then I ended up playing in college for 2 of my five years there, and then you get another shot. So you really don't know what your path's going to be. Only God does. So you just keep trying and stuff. But the tryout there was sleeting. The field was in terrible condition. It was very windy. It was very cold. I wasn't used to that coming from North Carolina, and so it was a shock to me anyway. Nobody really kicked great. We were all average. There were 4 of us. They had the entire organization out there, from Coach Cowher to the Roonies, to the GM, to trainers, to coaches. I mean, it wasn't a lot of pressure because I'm the kind of guy that can handle pressure. I guess a certain situation out in life may put you under a different kind of pressure, but I was used to pressure of sports, and so everyone was average, man. But, I think the thing they liked about me the most was my character, and I was having fun. The other guys, if they slipped, or we were all slipping, a couple of us fell, they're all frustrated, and can I get another kick, coach? And I'm just like, move on to the next, because I didn't have the right shoes. I didn't know what I was really getting into besides the NFL tryout. And, of course, they wanted to have it on Heinz Field because that was only the second year Heinz Field had been open. So that's where the whole curse of Heinz Field thing came from. Chris Brown struggled, and Todd Peterson right before me was struggling big time. So, I first went back to the facility. We all ate, one at a time. They brought us upstairs. I was the last guy to go. So, and the other guys had told me good luck if I get the job. And I didn't know if I was going to get it or not, but I knew that I was either going to be me or they were going to, get somebody else in there. And I signed the contract, and I still get the chills today talking about it. And, it was Kevin Colbert, the GM, and Coach Cowher. And, my first day of work was practice next day. So, it was very life-changing. The opportunity itself, I mean, of course, I was hoping that I would play, 15, 20 years. I played 9, but the opportunity itself was great, and I did as best I could every single day. It wasn't just game day. And I know that with that kind of attitude that you'll make it. It's, greediness of me says, man, I can still kick now. I'm 40 years old. But the reality behind it is I played 9 years at the highest level of football. Yeah. It's very humbling.
Right. Now, I'm actually a big Steelers fan. That's my favorite team. So I have to ask you about the 15-1 season. That's like what, your second or third year in the league? What happened there that, as we know, Big Ben went 13-0. You guys make the playoffs, but then lose to the Patriots. So close to coming to the Super Bowl, but doesn't happen. What were your thoughts on that season?
It was great, man. The one thing I liked about that team, I was in a lot of locker rooms, but I only played for New Orleans, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, and Seattle. And everywhere there were cool dudes. But, Pittsburgh, my first 5 seasons there, was like a fraternity, like a college team where everybody put their salaries aside and they played. The games today have turned into a bunch of clowns because of social media. I'm a huge college fan because the guys play together better. You know, it's great to get paid for something you love to do, but you know, so many of these guys, you know, like they're all in the social media, you know, causing problems. You know, it's one thing if a human problem happens with life, but if you express your life through social media when you have the blessing of playing in the NFL, I mean that's and you know, so back then it was the reason we were 15-1. Number one is because of the camaraderie of the team. We all liked each other. The people that were married with kids, we take out the people like me that were single, and, you know, on the town having a good time. We all go out to dinner. We all go out for a few drinks. You know, so it was a true team. You know, you didn't just go to the facility, practice hard, and go home. And that's a lot of teams. A lot of places that's how it is. I mean, it's truly a job, and it is a job. It is a business. It's a cutthroat business. But if you have guys on your team that enjoy each other, it's fun. It can be very fun, and we did. And that's why. And then on top of that, we got every bounce. You know, like if the team fumbled or threw a bad pass and it was deflected, we always got the ball. I mean, that was, you know, there is luck involved in sports, and sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way and you can't catch a break, and sometimes you catch all the breaks. And that was one of those years where we were damn good, but we got things moving our way. So it was a good ride, man. It's something to look back on.
Right. And then a bounce-back season. The regular season record wasn't as great as 15-1, but when it counted the most, you guys got the job done and ended up winning Super Bowl 40. What was that moment like when you won the Super Bowl? How did that feel?
Well, that first Super Bowl run was crazy because we weren't playing the best football, like you said. We weren't getting the breaks, so we got the year before. But we were sticking together, and we knew that there came a point in the season when we played the Chicago Bears. And that, I'll never forget the play. And I was on the team, but I wasn't on the field, of course, because I was on the kicker. But when Jerome ran Brian Urlacher scored the touchdown in the snow, that was the turning point of our entire season. We never lost a game. And it was just like, we're going to ride this dude's back. You know, he was going to retire the year before, and he talked to a few guys, and he said, you know what, I'll give it one more shot. Super Bowl's in my hometown, Detroit. Might as well try it. And hell, we did it, you know, and it was just, that was one of those seasons you earned everything you got. We didn't get the ball bouncing the right way. We just fought hard. We stayed together. We didn't point fingers. We didn't get too low with the lows and too high with the highs. As Coach Cowher would say. And it was a humbling experience. And, you know, the Super Bowl it's just another football game that when you're playing for something that, I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Of course you want to get your money. Of course you want a big contract. But, you know, you can make money through a lot of you can make, but you can't, when you go to the NFL, if your goal is not a Super Bowl win, you're in it for the long reason. And because who doesn't like to win? I mean, I couldn't imagine being on a team that lost all the time. It would be very disheartening. It'd be kind of like, why am I even playing? You know, I guess because I'm talented and I'm getting a good paycheck, but now what? You know, so that was the one thing that our goal was a championship ring. AFC championship's your first goal, but once you get the Super Bowl, see, I was lucky enough where I was 2 Super Bowls and won both. You know, because I would hate to be on the other end where you lose one, even though it is a heck of an honor to see it.
Right. Now, Coach Cowher, what was it like playing under Bill Cowher?
Well, Coach Cowher's a great guy, very fiery coach. You know, he was fun. He was very respectful to us as a team. He took care of us throughout the season. We did fun stuff all the time. He was just an old school coach. I mean, he went to NC State. I went to North Carolina. We had that personal rivalry. We talked a little smack here and there, but he just took care of the guys, man. He loved us. He treated us like we were his sons. And he took care of us. And you really enjoy. Now, it doesn't mean everyone agreed with everything he did or a play call here and there or we didn't get cussed out. Yeah, we did. We all did. But he made it fun, and he made you want to be there. And if you were just a fly on the wall in that locker room, you would understand how much fun we had. And, you know, it was sad to see him go, but, you know, he had some, his wife was sick and had some family issues going on, so it is what it is. But he was just, I mean, I'll be the first one to say I got spit on 20 times, you know, whether I missed a kick or missed a kickoff or whatever. I've been grabbed up by him, spit on. He didn't need to. He's just fiery. But, you know, you like that intensity. He's somebody you want to play for, you want to win for, because he can't play the game. He's out there coaching it. And even though he has a great play call or a bad play call, if you don't execute it as an offense, defense, or special teams, then he can't do anything about it. You know, so he was great to play for. I mean, I saw him probably a year ago, man, maybe six months to a year ago. It's like he didn't give a beat. He's just a good guy.
Right. Now, Coach Tomlin, one of my favorite coaches in the league, I always think that he's, like, underappreciated, but he's one of the best coaches in the league. And if the Steelers ever parted ways with him, 20 teams would be calling to get him. What was it like playing under Coach Mike Tomlin?
Tom was cool, too. A different style of coaching. Obviously, a lot younger than Coach Cowher. And, you know, he worked his way to a head coaching position, and, man, it's a hell of a one to land in Pittsburgh. You know, they get that 3 total coaches since 1933. So, you know, he was fun, too. He did fun stuff. He came in there initially and tried to change a lot of things. He wanted to change, but he ended up going back to Coach Cowher's ways because the guys weren't real responsive to it. But, you know, everybody respected him, liked him. Like I said, he's had his hands full with some divas the last couple of years, but he's, you know, I know they didn't play well in the first game last week, but he seems to be like he's got the team under control. If they do not win tomorrow, they would be under some scrutiny. But the one thing about the Roonies they're very loyal to coaches, very, very loyal. They don't get too low with the lows and too high with the highs either. And the Roonies are awesome to play for. But, I mean, Tomlin and Cowher are definitely in different categories as far as how they coach, but very, very well-respected guys. And very successful.
For sure, no doubt. But back to Super Bowl 43, you guys defeated the Cardinals in an amazing thriller at the end with Ben throwing the touchdown to Santonio Holmes. But actually, in the beginning of the game, I remember watching that game. I remember the drive, the team driving all the way down the field and not being able to get the touchdown. And I remember you kicking that field goal to take the 3-0 lead. But what was it like winning Super Bowl 43, the second one? What did that mean to you?
Well, you know, it was another successful year. We weren't the 6th seed as we were in the first Super Bowl, but it was fun. It was also fun. We had a lot of fun along the way. You know, everyone says which Super Bowl is better. Well, you can't really say which one's better, in my opinion, unless you didn't play in both of them, you know. Because it's just, it's what you, like I said, it's what you play for. Like, you play to be in that game. And, you know, that was, we were way ahead. I thought we were in great hands and we were good to go. And we turned around in the fourth quarter and we lose. And, you know, it was kind of a shock to us, but as we did always, stuck together, we didn't point fingers, and we found a way. And that team was something special, too, and, man, that catch was something special. And, yeah, obviously the pass and everything else was great, too, but, I mean, that's just a hell of a play. So, but, you know, in our fans, you can't say enough about them. Everywhere you go, the terrible towels are in full effect. It doesn't matter if it's at the Ravens, it's at the Bengals, the Browns, in California, and Texas, it doesn't matter. And, you know, that's pretty cool because it is that is something that you realize who you're playing for and what organization you're playing for. Because, you know, there's a lot of these I mean, I live in Charlotte, and the Carolina Panthers have been fairly successful, and even made it to a Super Bowl not too long ago. And, it's a wine and cheese crowd. If they win, next game there'll probably be people there. If they lose, the stadium's not even sold out. And, that's never the case in Pittsburgh. I hope they never go 0-16, but if they do, I promise you that stadium will be full. That's loyalty, and that's the love of the city. So the Super Bowl 43 was great. The experience in Tampa, Florida was awesome. The overall experience itself was just fantastic.
What was going through your mind when James Harrison made that incredible interception and ran it back 99 yards? What was the sideline like?
Well, it was crazy. The interception itself, he actually was not even in the right position. He just instinctively made that play, which is pretty cool. Because as Troy did a lot, Polamalu, they did a lot of instinctive moves because they're so athletic, so good, and they're smart. But the interception itself was great. Then running it over 100 yards, I mean, it's crazy, man. And it's not like he's a small dude. And seeing the guys were sprinting up there, blocked for him, and it was crazy, man. And it was like none of us could breathe. We were so excited, and that was a really cool feeling as well. But he's one of those players that he earned everything he got, man, because he was given a runaround for a long time, and then he landed. Pittsburgh, he did great. The rest is history. But you just never know, man, with opportunities. And he was one guy that took advantage of every single opportunity he got.
How were Troy Polamalu and Hines Ward? What was it like playing with those guys?
Man, those are Class X. Two awesome people. Two extremely hard workers. Two people I will always keep in touch with. They just those guys are they're just special talents, man. They just are. Hines is now coaching with the Jets. I'm sure Troy's. I'm Troy does a ton of charity stuff. Who knows where he's at? He may be in Hawaii. He may be in who knows? I mean, in California, but. They're just Class X. I mean, they work hard. They pray with you. They take you to dinner. You're just guys that you just love to fight for. And I don't really have anything negative to say about either one of them.
Right. Those were always two of my favorite players on the Steelers. Always great guys on and off the field. What are your thoughts on Ben Roethlisberger?
Ben's a good dude. He's extremely successful. Initially, it took him a little bit to earn everyone's respect because he was young. But his talent pretty much spoke for itself, as we all see. No, he's good. Him and I are pretty close. He's a good dude. He's very successful. He'll be in the Hall of Fame. There's no doubt about it. I just hope he goes out on top. I mean, whether it's a Super Bowl victory or a great season, I just wish him the best and, great health. Ben and I were really tight, and, then all the fame kind of surrounded him because he was doing so well, and, they kind of had to stay out the spotlight. So, but I think he gets a bad rap, but he's a good guy, man, and he can swing the ball, and he obviously was part of the reason I won 2 Super Bowls.
For sure. Now, with field goals, what would you say is the toughest thing about kicking a field goal?
Mentality. Obviously, weather factors and all that stuff, that matters. Your footing, the wind. Are you kicking on a baseball field, like in Oakland and Miami used to have? It's... if your mind is right, because your mind is extremely strong, and not just in field goal kicking in life. If you think something, it's the chance it's going to happen. If you go out there skeptical about the kick or blaming the wind or the footing's not good or blah blah blah, then you're already dug yourself a hole and you're probably going to kick. So the toughest part about kicking, besides certain conditions in certain stadiums, is your mentality. If your mind is right, and also you have to have a quick memory loss. If you miss a kick, you can't harp on it the rest of the game because you're going to have to kick more. And once again, that's mental. So I think the mental part of kicking is about at least 80% of making a kick.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on kickers being drafted? Do you think that is a waste of a pick? Does it put more pressure on the player coming out of college being drafted by an NFL team? What are your thoughts on that?
I think kickers are underappreciated. I truly do. I mean, they've already moved the extra point back. They're eventually going to get rid of kickoffs, I think. Kicking is very underappreciated now. I don't know if it was when I played because it was a huge deal. But some kickers that just aren't very good anymore still keep jobs. And, back when I was playing, if you're under 80%, you were not going to keep a job. That's because there was such good talent around. But drafting a kicker, I mean, you're drafting your points for your next few seasons. Not to say that nobody else scores, but, I'm second in Steelers history behind Gary Anderson for points. And I'm a kicker. And it's not because I'm the toughest guy on the field. It's because kickers, it's not like you're going to draft a kicker first round, but if you've had a struggle in the past and you get a young guy that's really good, I think it's more than necessary to draft a kicker. If you don't necessarily need one and he's available, I think it's still more than necessary because it's a business move. You could save some money. So, I mean, it all depends on people's perspective, but, kicking is a huge part of the game, and like I said, it's very underappreciated now.
What is the secret to doing an onside kick successfully?
Onside kicks are so hit or miss. You can kick a perfect onside kick and the other team gets it. I mean, it's just a dangerous play, really. You could do something very vanilla, and it's like anyone can do it, and you can recover the ball. So I don't know if there's a secret. There's a lot of different ways to do one, for sure. But I don't think there's any really secrets about it because there's just so many ways to do it, and there's, like I said, your best kick they could return for a touchdown. The bounce is just wrong, but it's still a great kick. And your worst kick, you can recover. So, I think you just never know because that's just, it's one of those kicks that you hope you never have to do. It's a very dangerous playing football. But at the same time, it's necessary. So, and it's kind of like, it's tough to say. Now, what we used to do is you plant way ahead of the ball, and you kick the top of the football, it pops way up in the air, it's a jump ball. Well, now teams, because it's a dangerous kick, can make a fair catch on it. And that's, I know it's a dangerous kick, but if it goes off the ground, you shouldn't be allowed to fair catch it. You can. So, it just kind of depends on your strategy, and you got to come up with some innovative stuff because, that's the only way you're going to get the football back.
What are your thoughts on the drop kick? You don't really see that very often. It was something that happened early 2000s.
I practiced it, man. It was, I could do it. I mean, I wasn't 100% when I did it, but I could do it. It was interesting, to say the least. But, you're not going to see that very often because, it's not practical. I know Doug Flutie did it. I know that a lot of people can do it, but I'm not against it. I just think that it's not going to be used a ton, unless there's a certain scenario in the game where, there are certain rules that most people don't know that you can get one of those free kicks and you can actually do that with no people on the field. It would just be you out there. So, but it's very, very, very rare that's why you don't know about it.
Right. Actually, I was going to ask you about free kicks in the NFL. Do you think that they are easier, like if you're trying to kick a 60-yard field goal and it's a free kick, is it easier since there's no holder on it?
I like the. I mean, as long as the guys block for you, I like the actual snap, hold, kick, and rush because it gives you more of a timing aspect. I'm not against that. I mean, because that's how you practice a lot when there's nobody running at you. But sometimes it's like you're out of routine if you don't have a line in front of you and you don't have guys coming at you. But obviously, the good thing is you can't get a block. So you do have a fair chance to make.
What would you say is the best fake field goal play?
It all depends how you draw it up and how it's executed. I was in a couple of, we always had one where I threw the pass to Heath Miller. We called it 3 times in games, and we called it off. I didn't call it off, but the holder did. So I don't know. If you execute it, all of them are great. It could be a pass to a tight end from the holder. It could be a direct snap to the kicker. If he runs it, if he's that fast. There's a million things to do, but if you don't execute them, none of them are good. And if you execute them, they're all great. I mean, that's how you draw it up, and it's how everybody does their job.
What is it about Adam Vinatieri being able to still kick in his 40s?
He's 46, so I can't say I can kick at 46. I can kick right now at 40. I mean, I don't train for kicking. I do kickboxing and stuff, but, I went out and kicked football. I was consistent. And if I actually trained for kicking and had been playing the last 8 years, I would be even better. But he's a freak of nature, man. He'll be in the Hall of Fame. He's a great dude, very respected guy, and a very nice guy. I played against him numerous years, and he's a rare breed. You got some kickers that can kick to the 46, and you got some that kick one time, and then they have to play against it and do well, they get hurt. So that's the difference that you have there.
Right. Where do you see the Steelers going this season? What's your projection? What's your prediction for the team this year?
Well, I said 10-6, but as bad as they look against the Patriots, we're about to find out how the Seattle game goes before I make another prediction. So my first prediction before the preseason was over was 10-6, and then make the playoffs.